right, folks. Hello. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Carrabelle City Commission. It's Thursday, July 7th, July 6th, 2017, 6 p.m. We're at the Carrabelle City Hall, and we'll say the invocation and by Mr. Commissioner Allen, and then we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you so much.
Our God and Father in heaven, we stand before you tonight and we try to think of this wonderful city of ours. We ask you to give you wisdom and knowledge and understanding and patience. We might accomplish the best things for the people of our wonderful city. Especially now, I ask you to be with our president as he travels to our other nations, that you would protect him in safety, and that we might make this world a better place and a safer place to live. Those of our members that are sick, we are concerned with them. Be with us tonight, especially for their sake. In Jesus' name.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, we need to remove item 1 under new business.
Thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda that has the June 1st commission meeting minutes, the June 20th special meeting minutes, and then the attorney's invoices for our regular services and the CRA services. Did everyone have a chance to review those items? Would someone like to entertain a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to pass.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second by motion by Commissioner Massey, a second by Commissioner Mathis. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. All right, then we're just going to have a little change up today. We've got a presentation that the city would like to present to Fire Chief Whaley, and Commissioner Massey is going to do that for us. The Fire Chief, come on up.
25 years? Correct, sir.
Thank you very much.
I didn't realize how much the fire chief done until I started talking with him and was over that department, and how much time he meets with people that we don't know about. And so I appreciate it.
We appreciate your time and service. We want to congratulate you and commend you on their 25 years leading the Carrabelle's volunteer fire department and all of our volunteer firemen. They're all shining stars for Carrabelle. We appreciate the hard, dedicated work they do.
Yes, they are.
Yes. Thank you so much. And so we'll move on now to public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay. Ms. Newton, please come up. And then make sure your microphone is turned on, and then just tell us your name.
My name is Jeannie Newton.
Okay.
I'm a volunteer at the King Ford Johnson Museum. And first off, I'd like to start off by thanking the city. I'm a new volunteer, but in becoming acquainted with the museum, the way it works, I've become acquainted with how supportive the city of Carrabelle has been to the King Ford Johnson Museum, not only as their landlord here in the building, but supporting them in other ways, water taps and sewage taps, that kind of thing. And helping them out with their rent when air conditioning wasn't working and that type of thing. They're very appreciative of how supportive the city has been to them. And now I'm here asking if you would continue to support them as they prepare to move out into their new building. As you know, they've got their new building that is now it's up and they're preparing for the move. May I approach?
Yes.
I thought it whether we'll see what the building looks like. That's just a shot for 1 minute each, and you can kind of see what the building looks like. Any of you that have visited the museum have seen that in our current setup, we rely heavily on the cabinets and cupboards that are already built into the rooms that are back in the museum to display our artifacts. And what we would like to ask is if the city would consider allowing us to continue to use these cabinetry when we make our move. As you can see, we have a lot of blank space out in the new museum on the walls.
And these cabinets are part of the school that y'all have put in good use.
As you can see, we use those right now for our displays. We've got all kinds of artifacts in them. I have an inventory of those. We're calling those the oak cabinets. If we could possibly move those with us when we make the move, and some other cabinetry that's just in the area that we use right now in the museum. There are some things like, green gas. There are some green boxes that are built over the old science table. They're just plywood boxes. And then in a storage room, you go through a couple rooms, through one of our display rooms, there's some kind of old kitchen back there, and there are cabinets in that also. Just calling the old cabinets. If there's any way that we could use those cabinets in old kitchen cabinets and the plywood boxes, the old desk units, and the countertops that go with those. If there's any way that we could possibly, if they could move those with us.
All right. She's got an inventory. Okay, so we want to give this inventory to the secretary. So we have a motion by Commissioner Mathis that we let you have those cabinets to take with you to display.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right. And so we have a motion by Commissioner Mathis and a second by Commissioner Massey. Is there any discussion on that? I just want to say that would be, I think it's a good way to preserve some of the school. This here, part of that is the chemistry classroom, I think it's the science lab. Okay, so that would be a good way to preserve some of the things here. You know, I mean, eventually this building's going to be demolished, and we want to be able to keep some keepsakes here and there. So, all right, is there any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, then that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your volunteer work. Okay, so then we'll move on to the commissioner's reports. Commissioner Walden? Okay, and Commissioner Massey? Okay. Commissioner Massey?
All I have to say is, I'm glad Whaley's here, and the jacket, and the graveyard is getting cut. They started on it yesterday morning. But we've had a lot of rain too, and they have cut it. So I've got a lot of phone calls on the graveyard not being cut, but they started yesterday morning.
Anything else? Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Allen?
I have nothing.
All right, then of course I've got page full, but I'll try to be quick. I just want to announce that we're real happy that on June 6th, Governor Scott signed House Bill 891 to dissolve the Carrabelle Port and Airport Authority, which now is law. Representative Bashir sponsored that bill at my request during the 2017 legislative delegation meeting, as directed by this commission after we voted to dissolve the authority last year, or to move forward to dissolve the authority. The Carrabelle Port and Airport Authority was established in 1986. Since 2000, it's been basically inactive. Last year's airport license renewal was threatened by the FDOT because they understood the airport was managed and operated by the authority, and this had to be cleared up by dissolution. Was the only way to clear it up, which is now done, and the city of Carrabelle is now the clear owner and operator of the Carrabelle Airport by law. And then on June 7th, the city administrator and I attended the Water Management District workshop for review and input to help update the surface water improvement and management program for the Apalachicola River and Bay watershed. The last updated program for this particular watershed was in 1996. Projects for grant funding are being developed through the workshops that the Water Management District is conducting, and they are allowing public comment and recommendations for proposed projects. That particular watershed, if you don't know, it's the largest forested floodplain in Florida. It stretches through 3 states all the way up to the Appalachian Mountains. On June 10th, I attended with the required annual ethics training, and Commissioner Walden was there as well. Franklin County Board of County Commissioners offered that training free to local officials, and that saved us the need and the cost to have to travel to another city to do that like we normally have to. On the 14th, I attended the flag raising ceremony for Carrabelle Library Branch, Franklin County Library Branch, and Commissioner Walden was there too. Sheriff Smith and myself were keynote speakers as well. The chief was there. Then I attended the regular TDC board meeting on the 14th. On the 21st, I chaired the regular Franklin County Community Traffic Safety Team. That's committee I've been chairing for 3 years. Most of y'all are aware that I've worked on that behind the scenes, have been doing that 5 years. I met with Courtney and Mr. Ashley Teat on June 22nd out at the industrial building on Airport Road for review of Mr. Teat's building inspection. He did a fire inspection, and Courtney's going to report on that here in that agenda item. In mid-June, the Franklin County Senior Center board members voted to offer to lease their office space to the city for City Hall operations, and then Senator President Mr. Moore requested to show me the spaces, and he did. I saw the location, but he did not give a price, and I reported this offer to the city administrator for her consideration. This is just a little heads up. Lanark Village Association has requested the city to lease to them just over an acre of spray field over off Oak Street, north of their boat storage lot and the fire department over there. And they've requested a term of 10 years at $1 per year. Spaces on the property will be rented out for additional boat, RV, and vehicle storage. The location has been cleared, but they're requesting that the city perform additional ground leveling and cover with gravel or shell. And so in essence, they're asking us to develop it to suit for $1 per year. But what I'm going to do is take the request to the Water and Sewer Department supervisors when we have our next meeting and discuss it with the administrator. She's already aware, get their recommendations, and I'll report back to y'all and see whether or not that's recommended. The lighthouse, in an attempt to better expose the Crooked River Lighthouse and Lighthouse Park to Highway 98, the Lighthouse Board of Directors voted, I don't know when they did, to have multiple trees cleared off the section of property that fronts Highway 98. This was done in a typical lobby-style process about 2 weeks ago. And it was done without the knowledge of the commission or myself. But the president of the Lighthouse has guaranteed our administrator that arrangements have been made to have stumps ground and all the remaining debris removed from the grounds cleaned up and put into order as soon as possible. This was an unsolicited decision by the association board members, and I expect them to follow through with the project and get it cleaned up, as soon as possible. It's the height of the summer season. It's high tourist season, and that's the grounds of one of Carrabelle's top tourist attractions, and it's kind of been a shambles. It's embarrassing for the city, it's embarrassing for me representing the city, and went to the TDC. And so, anyway, this morning, Courtney and I met with DOC Warden Payne, Major Lynn, and Sergeant Harris, and they wanted to tell us because of severe staffing shortages, and I know you're aware of it. The DOC is cutting back to 3 days a week, providing their own corrections officer with his own or her own inmate crew to perform maintenance on our streets, roads, and parks here in the city. And there was a little further discussion. Courtney's going to report on that during her staff meeting. And thank you so much for listening to me. And we'll move on to Nokia's report under staff report.
Thank you. For the Avenue B project, it's all included in your report as well. We're still looking at a letting date of September, and we will be advertising a community awareness meeting for that project to be held on August the 8th, 2017, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And attendees are invited to come any time between those hours of 5 to 7. Those notifications will be mailed out to property owners within 500 feet on July the 13th. And we also discussed posting an ad in the paper and on the radio station. At Sands Park, we have been in contact with a different contractor now for the dock. Provided him information. We're expecting a quote on that very soon. We have coordinated pricing and are preparing a contract for C.W. Roberts to install the asphalt trail in the parking area at the park. And item 4 in the memo is City Hall. The site design and the revised floor plan is underway, and geotechnical investigation is occurring next week. So there'll be you'll see rigs out there on site next week. For Lighthouse Estates septic to sewer project phase 1, we provided Christina Koger at the Water Management District with information she needed to prepare the scope of work, so the city should be receiving an agreement for that grant very soon. And then the component or the companion water project, funding for that project will be submitted through the Restore program. That's an online portal, and that is due on July the 15th. Not on your list, but I'll make you aware of it, is Avenue C resurfacing. That project got the contract executed this evening, in fact, and the notice to proceed will be issued to the contractor for July 10th, which is a Monday. And he will be providing a change order amount for the additional parking area on Avenue C. And also, Mayor mentioned the pothole area that they also need to provide a change order amount.
Yes, what I'm talking about is the big pothole that's out there at the entrance to the west parking lot to come to Camp Fort Johnson and to the recycle bins. It was repaired about 2 years ago, but it really needs to have a section cut out of it and have a professional repair with hot asphalt. The city is responsible for maintaining that property. It's leased property, but the city is responsible for maintaining it. So that would be the least expensive way to do it, is to have them use someone that's got hot asphalt while they're here, while they're mobilized. Okay. Do you have any questions for Mr. Large?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, then, waterfront partnership.
Good evening, everybody. I left a copy of my report on your table, but I'm going to just go over a few of the highlights, and I'm Tamara Allen for the record. I want to, we've got two pieces of really fabulous news. One is that the Phase 3 grant that we've been renovating the museum, the old Carrabelle City Hall building with, has been finished. They have built in the backyard the most amazing set of galvanized stairs that meet the life safety code for the state of Florida. And by having egress stairs from the second floor to the ground and the first floor, that we then can start to renovate upstairs. So that's a very good accomplishment. It's kind of been one of those problems that anything could go wrong has gone wrong with the project. And I appreciate all of the patience and hard work that city staff have done. We had to get a lot of people involved with it, like the power company, because it was actually a power line that went right down across the metal stairway. And we just didn't think that seemed like a real good idea. We've still got some data lines and things that have to be adjusted, and but basically the project's finished. And I invite you all. It's behind the building in the alley, and they also have installed a new power pole, but they didn't have to come. They did it right along the edge of the alley, so they didn't have to get the 30-foot machinery in there and take everybody's fences down. So that worked out really well. So we're just thrilled to have that finished, and I think the state would, because we got a 30-day extension, we'll be able to get it in on time. So that's a very good thing. And then during last week, we were informed, last week of June, we were informed that we received, the legislature gave the city of Carrabelle funding for the next phase, phase 4 of renovations to that building, which actually are renovating the bathroom. The bathroom upstairs of that building currently is not functional whatsoever. When you turn the water on, it comes down to the second floor, all down the walls, and so it's really not been functional for several years. So the money for this grant will be used to repair and improve the bathroom, to replace the power electrical lines, because it's still got lines up there from the 30s, and old electrical wires. And then it'll be repaired, the plaster repairs that the mayor had pointed out to me earlier this year, and then the woodwork will be repaired where it's gotten damaged, and then it will be painted. So it will really be totally functional when that is through, and then if we can hopefully at some point get another phase that might at least replace the treatment floor in a good way, where it would be keep a good wooden floor. It just needs to have a refinishing on it, and the front door. Actually, we're trying to get the doors so that they'll be secure and they'll be able to be so that we can get insurance on the contents. So without doors that can be locked with deadbolts and other security measures, we can't insure the contents. So those are two really positive, good things that happened. We have a couple of programs coming up. One at the end of September, having to do with the railroad here in Carrabelle. That's going to be on a Saturday morning. And then the other thing is just a list of our total visitors for the April to June quarter was 402, And our total hours worked this period is 385, and that's on the back page there. That's not nearly all of the hours, because it does, I mean, that's all the volunteer hours. But we've got 3 citizens of Carrabelle that receive part-time, well, actually 2 citizens of Carrabelle and 1 of Lanark that receive a part-time salary there. So, and those are for our IT, our computer guy, the lady that cleans the place, and our museum curator. Those are our paid staff. And otherwise, we met and came up with some ideas for both the CRA meeting next week when we talk about possible projects that we're going to submit to the CRA. And we also talked about people are trying to think of things that are in the Waterfront Partnership's vision document that's on the website, trying to look at possible Restore Act projects there that might be something of interest. But there's a lot more work that needs to be done to flesh that out for perhaps another. We're not trying to do this for the July 15th deadline, just some things that perhaps would apply for that in future consideration. And then the other thing I want to remind you about is the International Coastal Cleanup is scheduled for September 16th down at the Pavilion down on Marine Street. And we would appreciate everybody coming out and helping us get the city cleaned up. Is there any other questions?
Who does your IT down there?
His name is Patrick Johnson, and he does a good job with doing our reports and other things on the computer.
What is the shade structure for street program?
Well, one of the previous plans for the development of the 4th Street boat ramp had a mini version of the gazebo, a mini version of the pavilion that's on Marine Street, about a quarter size of that or half size. But it was located on that down there so that you could have a sun-protected place to sit or to have a picnic or
Down by the dock.
down by the dock.
On that grass.
Yes, even if at one point they had talked about even putting it out over the water so that people could fish from it. But I know there's still discussion about, is the scenic byway going to put their stuff in there, and if they do, then if the required parking would take up the space, or if there's other things that have to happen there. But
that area, that grassy knoll, is designated for the big and scenic byway. Something I intend to do at the time is to write those folks and find out where is that. Maybe Mr. Butler can tell us. Does the EDC out of Massey?
well, I know it's kind of up in the air at this
Now,
point.
where's the big Ben scenic
Right,
byway?
but-
Where is that kiosk? They wanted both of them.
Right.
Paid for, I don't know,
It's
how
true.
long ago, $11,000, let's send me the information.
There are some other kinds of shade structures that might be possible. One of them that I've seen in other communities lately are essentially triangular pieces of sailcloth that are hung up for shade. I don't know if you've been through Panacea lately, but next to the grocery store in Panacea, there's a restaurant. And they put up 3 of those to make shade for their outdoor seating. And something like that might be inexpensive. It's just flown from poles that might already exist, or we might install if there's some kind of appropriate, simple structure that wouldn't be very expensive, but would create some kind of a shade structure there. But just consideration.
All right. right, thank you very much. Thank you for mentioning some of the projects we've got ongoing right now. I don't know how many projects we've done. I've got an ongoing list. I'd say 40 or more.
Right.
In the past 2 years.
Well, we're very happy.
It doesn't go unnoticed.
Oh, I hope it doesn't go no, I hear on a weekly basis, I hear from people who haven't been here in a long time. They'll come by the museum, or I'll see them on the street, and they'll just be bragging about all the improvements and how nice it looks. And especially people who live out of town who come back and say, wow, you've really done a lot to clean it up down there, and it looks so nice. And then the local people are saying, where's the parking? Why is it so messy down there where the triangle is? And I think it looks so much better than it did for the first 10 years we were down there. But
it's coming. We awarded the contract. It should be shortly. North Florida Asphalt is going to be doing that.
we appreciate that. Those are just items out of our vision plan that we keep reporting on.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Oh, yes, sir. I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
And the general public in this meeting make comments or ask questions about something.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'm Liz Christie, and I have a store downtown. And she reported that they came in to move. They came in and built a nice stairwell behind the museum, and I know that was a requirement. They needed to do that. But in the process of doing that, like she said, they put in a new electric pole, and it's right out the back of my door. And when they did that, they moved the line that was running over that stairwell to connect over to that pole so that they could get a shot down, I think, to the gas station to provide them power without that line hanging over the stairwell. Makes kind of good sense. Except now there's 4 telephone poles right there in that area. 2 of them are abandoned, and the one that they had been using all of these electrical lines running off of is extremely old. And when they disconnected that line, it started to lean. So they added a new guide wire running over there too in the back. And when they added the guide wire, they pulled that pole back some, and now the line, the power line that goes to the old pharmacy, is touching the roof of my building. And of course, when they did all of that, nobody came to us to ask us, as property owner there, what the impact might be to us or what they were going to do. And our power was going to be off, in fact, for maybe 30 or 45 minutes to an hour one day in the middle of the day. Fortunately, we were closed that day. But I asked the guy why he wasn't able to do that. So I'm feeling like things are happening, and although you know something's going on down there with this, I as a property owner, was unaware of what the changes were going to be. And I do have an impact right now that I wish somebody would come back from Duke Power and look at that whole area with 4 telephone poles, 2 abandoned, one that's not really good shape with most of the lines on, and now they have a new one with 1 line running off of it down to all the way down from right there behind Miss Mary's shop to the gas station. Is there a way to bury those lines and clean that area up or something?
None of us had anything to do with that project. I don't think that you all, I didn't know anything about it. I know, now the only one that I might know would be Courtney, that would know.
And we have no control over that. Duke Energy sends out their engineers and they
They made the decision. That's what they told me, that we have to do this because there's no other way to make this happen, because we couldn't get heavy equipment back here and put the pole further back and on and on.
Have you notified them?
No, I did not notice that until today that line was on my roof. So.
And is there someone who's the project manager on that project? Were you?
I'm the project manager as far as the overall project. Miranda is the person with the city that deals with the power company, and she's had several visits, and I think you have too, with the power people. The last I heard, which was 2 weeks ago, the representative of the power company met with Paul Markson and myself and explained that they were going to put the line right down between our buildings, and they were going to put a pole right between our buildings. And we pointed out to him that that would impair, I mean, it totally, you've got a fire exit emptying into a little alleyway, hardly an alley, but a little space between the two buildings, and that if they put a pole in the middle of it, there'd be no way to get me. It would even be worse getting back and forth. So my understanding was he went back and told his boss what they were going to put a thing out there and have to remove palm trees on Paul Markson's property. And the next thing we know, his boss said that wasn't going to happen, that they were going to have to put in a new pole. And that's the last I heard about it, and it happened during the time we were closed. So they weren't working with me at all. I just actually went to Paul, and I happened to be standing there talking to Paul at the time he came up. So I don't think, I know Miranda's had a hard time getting them to, if they keep saying, well, we're responsible for doing this, so it seems like we just need to get Miranda to call them and tell them it's not satisfactory. Because I looked at those poles today, there's those two that are just there behind the back of y'all's building. And it's really kind of blocking. If somebody rents that building, as you certainly hope they would, they'll have a harder time getting out their door now, because there's all these unused things back there. They say that the other lines that are there are data lines and cable lines, but the companies say it's not theirs. So I don't know how to remove the unnecessary stuff that's not, I know, like we had Comcast and we switched to something else, and Comcast never has taken the wires down to go to our house. So I don't know if we can take them, the city can take them down, or what the legality of that is. But
does anyone have a suggestion? I mean, honestly, I don't
Well, as far as Mr. Christie's request, I will give Duke Energy a call and have them come back out.
yeah, that seems,
I don't know about the wires. There are 5 wires.
we think they're not, but we don't have the capacity to check them. Miranda really has a handle on what we know, at least. Everything I know from Miranda, except that I personally talked to the guy when they were going to tear down the 2 palm trees and put it in the middle of our space.
Does Miranda go out on the site, or
She's been out on the site. I don't know how often she's been there, but Duke Power really is in charge about the best. Apparently it was a real heavy duty wire too, because of all the cooking equipment at Marathon, as I understand, more so than you might think for a gas station.
all right, thank you. If somebody needs to report, can you report to Mr. Christie? What you find out from, I guess you should call it Danny Collins.
Yes. And Tanner. I don't know Tanner's last name. Tanner and Duke Energy.
I had a plan to Danny overruled it. That's what we got there.
And Louis, I lost power during a very critical moment in my shop too. I had no idea. They didn't tell me. They just...
Maybe they didn't plan the power outage.
No, they had planned it, they just didn't go around and notify everybody what it was doing. And I asked the guy, why didn't you know? He said, we did go notify. You didn't notify me. You didn't notify me. I didn't have to be closed that day. You didn't notify me.
All right, Mr. Butler, Economic Development Council.
I was having a hard time hearing back there. I guess maybe they weren't covering the first one. We haven't done much meeting in the Economic Development Council. I just put my agenda back there, and the last thing in there was November of 2016. I don't know if that means it's been slow or I've just been slow. And there was only 2 of us there that were members, and we had 2 guests. Being the working waterfronts person on the Carrabelle Waterworks Partnership. I have hopes that maybe as our ownership on the river changes, we might be able to have a private entity that would provide us some commercial seafood docks. That said, I'm working with Dan Hartman in Opportunity, Florida. I'm trying to get information and report you for information on the building out there near the airport, to get that into the database through Opportunity, Florida, the Great Northwest, and Enterprise, Florida. So other people might find you as you try to determine all the other data that you're looking for. And I'll see if I can't do that for some of the other buildings, but in the past I had to take the buildings as small as And for the Big Bend Scenic Byway, yeah, it's kind of in a stalled status. We went out on RFPs for 3 counties for putting up exhibits like at the 4th Street ramp, or kiosks like at the Triangle coming into Carrabelle from the east side. And we had 2 interested parties, and there were basically road construction companies, not builders, and no one returned a bid. And after talking with them and the Florida Department of Transportation and the person who manages federal grants, they're saying it'll take like $300,000 more to entice someone to do all of the work and meet the federal guidelines, which I've never dealt with the federal grant before. But somebody forgot about the cost of someone having to put up putting up poles with all the federal regulations and wage hour, have to be on site every day, have to question the workers, and we're building 30-something sites. It's like $200,000 added on to the top of what we were talking about doing. So they're in a mode of trying to cut costs, reconfigure, get more funds. So yeah, it's slow and it's getting slow.
Do they have the funding that all of these counties and agencies put in, the funding that they put in to match? Do they still maintain, do they have an escrow account?
It's not in an escrow account. The construction money that comes from the federal government was only to be used for construction. So all the planning and soft costs and the matching money is what was being spent.
And that would be like the $11,000 that Carrabelle donated. So if there's multiple agencies that have put money in, but what if Carrabelle wants their money back? How does that work?
I don't know if it will go proportionately. We're looking at the positive side of pushing through it instead of backing up, but that will be yet to be determined. And everybody's in the same boat that you're in.
That's not nice, is it?
There are a lot of things in life that aren't nice, but that's reality.
No, that's bad.
And again, I mean, there's people above me that are meeting and talking. That was just one meeting that I attended, and trying to help as I can. For an update on Camp Gordon Johnson, I appreciate your consideration and approval to allow us to use displays that we're currently using. The building has been built, and we have 3 invoices that have not been paid. The company has asked for their payment, and we're at the point of walking through the building to make the punch list. How long it would take to get those agreed upon and fixed is to be determined, and of course we're having to prepare stuff. We'll have to do work inside the building before we even start moving anything into it. So we're looking at really about 60 days out of being able to pick stuff up and roll. Maybe sooner than 60 days. We want it to be hot enough to really make it miserable before we do it.
All right. The lighting looks good on the outside. We came by on the 4th of July and thank you for driving. I like the lighting.
Well, the humidity in the building at 77 degrees, the humidity is down to 50%. The goal is 45%. So at least the mission of what we were trying to do for our collection is, and paying for maybe another question. We're being frugal and hope, and all of y'all will be invited out when we have a really good show.
Good luck to you. And if you see anything else that Ms. Newton might be interested in, we'll contact her. She's pointed out a couple of things that we may need in another building. If not, we'll contact her and let her know.
We're going to have some stuff that's, not going, but we're now talking about building overhead storage so we can put some stuff up there that will apply and whatnot. And any questions on any of those three topics?
Y'all have any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Butler. Okay, then, the Carrabelle Aviation Advisory Board and Mr. Sullivan is here this evening, but you all have his report, and he says that the box hangar, there's going to be a little delay in starting the construction. Capping construction, I don't know why. And Kimley Horn went right to work the very next day after we approved their contract on the 20th. They were right to work to get some projects entered with the FDOT, and they're working on our master plan. And then they're starting to work on the perimeter fence planning around the outside of the whole perimeter of the airport. And then I understand it's not on here, but the hangar door replacements to complete the hangar renovation project, that's going to be week of July the 17th. Then we have the attorney's report.
I have none.
Okay, now last month you reported you were having discussions with the county attorney regarding their solution or research on mandatory garbage fees, how they
Yes.
collect.
I spoke with him earlier today. There is no update. We did not have any update on that.
But they're aware that we're awaiting their how they may collect, and so that we can make our decision here.
But actually, make sure I'm communicating. I've obviously expressed interest that we want to know how they're handling it and everything else, but I have not. At the very beginning, I did talk to him about possibly streamlining or joining in that effort, coattailing. I have not been pushing that recently. I know I just keep asking just what's going on. There's no.
The commissioners clear, we have to vote, it clears their interest.
Yeah, and I would think, just again, my last input, not this meeting, but this conversation with the one before it, was it went from very, front burner with them to less so. And if the city, and I know with us, it's kind of become a front burner issue, is we may want to investigate our own solutions. Not if we can certainly wait on them, but if the commission wants to make progress on that, we may have to take it into our own hands.
Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll put it on the agenda to have a regular item. I've contacted the Apalachicola, Lee Mathis, and she gave me a good bit of information on how they collect their water department. So all of our lots are not serviced. Every property owner is not serviced by water here or Carrabelle City. Do you all have any questions for Mr. Hartman? All right. Then Ms. Courtney, City Administrator.
At one of our previous meetings, we had one of the residents from Meridian Street that came to ask that we put some speed calming devices. We placed a traffic sign that tracked how many vehicles went by and at what rates of speed. Over the time the sign was there, it was 14,846 cars that come by. Only 17 of those were speeding.
How long was it out there?
Gary, how long was the sign out? 1 week. So we can look at that more if y'all want, but yeah, there's a lot of cars, said only 17 speeding.
Okay, and Commissioner Mathis wants to know, where Meridian is now. It's the hill of.
It's behind the dollar store. It's the hill that runs behind the dollar store.
That's why they're going to do traffic.
They moved the speed bumps.
With that, and then you're going to be putting in all of the fields.
So, but you had, 1,400, how many now?
It's at 14,846 cars.
17.
He told me 14,000.
Chief Carl, Lieutenant Whaley. Now he's a deputy. Okay. Come see us.
Lieutenant Whaley, Franklin County Sheriff's Office. I set up the counter, and we actually had 1,331 cars on Meridian Avenue, with 16 that were crossing a 30-mile-an-hour speed threshold. It was set for one solid week. I set it up and then shut it down to give us a week-long traffic study for that area.
Do y'all have any questions for?
And how is this working, Carl, around the county? I see the signs up quite a bit, and are you finding pretty good success on that?
We have 2 signs that will do radar clocking as well as just a variable message board. There are certain areas of the county where we are finding that there are significant amount of speeders that come through the area. With Meridian Street, it was a very small population. Of course, the mayor and I had discussions. It's really hard to get much speed coming up that hill, especially if you care what's on the other side of the hill.
Yeah.
You really have to push it to make more than 30 miles an hour go up the hill. But again, we are putting these signs out in a bunch of different locations, trying to help slow down the traffic. One of the ones that was actually a high speed threshold was Highway 67, just north of the power plant. And we set our thresholds really close. The speed limit's 35, we set the counter at 35. And sometimes you'll get some erroneous readings with that. Most of the time they are pretty true numbers.
I don't think anybody was speaking to
Nobody.
Very good, thank you.
And I also wanted to report you.
Well, I'm just going to say, and I did take that topic with some photos to the traffic safety team just for discussion. And they suggested that, and at that point I had the numbers from Lieutenant Whaley. They suggested that right now we have slow signs, just slow triangle yellow signs on either side of the hill, and the residents were concerned about youngsters playing in the street, and they suggested that we put a sign on either side of the hill that says slow children playing on either side, and maybe a blind driveway sign also, so we could complain about blind driveway and then just ask for now for more police surveillance in the area and see, if the residents see the improvement in that area. Y'all think about putting a couple of signs that says slow children play, or children playing, I don't know what to say exactly, on each side. They already grew up, I think. Yeah, they're grown. Well, now what children are playing over there that they're complaining about? But maybe some youngsters coming by to ride on their skateboard or something, somewhere else, but they're still there playing. Yes, sir.
Another question for Carl. Did you give tickets to these people that were speeding?
Commissioner, that sign is just a radar sign that sits there and counts that are passing. It was not an officer sitting there conducting enforcement action.
So it records automatically what? Okay, I see. Good.
All right. As the mayor reported earlier, we met with the warden, Major Lynn, and Sergeant Harris this morning. We're still having issues with the public coming onto the streets and roads staging yard. When they come out there, they tell them that the commissioners gave them permission. So we are going to put up some signs up there to no public access, no trespassing. The gates will be locked, so just for y'all's information, if anyone comes to you wanting to dump limbs inside of there, they are not allowed inside of there. And as she also reported earlier, that they're going to reduce our DC squad down to 3 days a week instead of 4 days a week because of the staffing issues they're having at the prison.
So people going down there while they make the day.
They're going down there during the day. Sometimes the inmates are there. Sometimes they've got their stuff and they've left and they're not there. But he said that they're coming in there and then they're having to load the inmates up and leave because their public's in there.
Right.
And when they ask them why they're there, they say, well, Commissioner so-and-so gave me permission.
So, if you, and I know I did, they know better than
I know better.
And so what it is, some public folks are bringing their garbage, household garbage, and yard debris or whatever, they're coming onto the streets and road yard and using the dumpster there. And if there's an officer, a corrections officer there with the inmate crew, why are you here? And they'll say, well, Commissioner Massey or the Mayor La Paz told me. So, but
It's tied into our garbage problem we just talked about. William has this big dumpster down there, commercial dumpster. It started off, I live right down the road from it, and I see it every day. It started off 1 or 2 dumpster garbage, now it's a steady stream. The gate needs to stay locked.
Well, you need to call the law, you need to write their name down, call Gary, because it's against the law.
I talked to William this afternoon, and he said that I guess the board enforcement is going to keep the gates locked.
yes,
And I agree with that.
I do too. It's a serious issue. It's a
Because
serious matter.
there's people going down there, it's not dumping garbage, it's dumping contraband.
Yes.
Cell phones, cigarettes, dope. And it's hard to tell who's dumping garbage and who's dumping dope.
But either one's illegal.
None of it's legal, no.
Right.
There's one's more serious than the
What
other.
the warden is, what he came to tell us is that our staging yard is used to be used as a transfer station for contraband to get out to the DOC.
Oh, yeah,
And, so I want the gate to be locked.
yeah.
And then I would ask that if it's the pleasure of the board, if you all don't mind, Courtney's going to put a no public access style sign for
But
us.
it's as directed by the city commission.
As ordered by the Carrabelle City
Oh, yeah, I take the motion for that.
Okay, so we have a motion for that. Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Massey and a second by Commissioner Mathis that we have a sign on there that says by order of the Carrabelle City Commission.
And enforced by the Carrabelle Police Department.
That's right, with the date July 6, 2017. Don't mind. Is any more discussion on that?
One more thing.
Okay.
Because we have probably $100,000 worth of equipment in that yard. We need some sort of security cameras in there. We need to look into that.
Okay.
We got lumber in there that costs $10,000 a piece. The county had 2 stoves out here at their facility. So maybe it's something we look through the next budget period. Security at the courts. So that way, at least the equipment is ready.
Well, I was going to suggest that you would remind us when we start our budget discussions, just make a note of it, and we'll see if maybe, even if you wanted to contact us or find out what exactly you want. The security system set up at the airport, you might talk to them and see what they got and how they handle it out there. Might give us an idea of what.
And there's security system there that things like cell phone. It has become a big problem, really, now.
Big problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so, any more discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then that motion carries. Courtney, did you have anything else?
Not under this report, I do have some other stuff when we get to the agenda.
All right, okay, thank you. And, Ms. Keisha?
I know Russ already announced that I was just going to announce the public meeting on August the 8th to discuss Avenue B project behind the IGA. That will be from 5 to 7, and I believe Russell will be here to answer any questions that anybody may have. So that's open to the public. Also, we'll have a CRA budget meeting workshop on July 18th at 11 a.m. before the CRA meeting. That's all.
Does anyone have questions for Ms. Keisha? Anyone? Okay, all right, thank you very much. And then public hearing, but we have no public hearing this evening. So we'll move on to new business. Item number 1 has been removed. And then item number 2, discussion and possible action regarding contracting out a janitor to clean city park restrooms on weekends. So,
That is something I requested, and I don't think it's fair. Those street park guys have to go down on the weekend or their days off and clean that. When they do, we have to give a comp time or overtime. I don't know how that's done. And some of these guys make a lot more money per hour than somebody will go hire from the back. So we're actually losing money. All these guys have to go down on the days off. After they work all week, they shouldn't be having to clean that.
and so the comp time is time and a half, the hours that they work.
So, yeah, when we work them over,
2 hours, they get 3 hours off, or,
we have to give them time off, or comp time, whatever, or basically cost. And we're losing our inmate labor because when they have to schedule that time off, we're losing our inmate labor because they have to just off cleaning back.
during the week.
I agree with
Take
you.
off during the week.
I agree with you. But now, whoever we hire, they won't have no benefits.
No,
It'll just be a part-time and
contract.
part-time employee.
I just want to get real basic right here. Now, you talked about restrooms. I understand they're supposed to empty all the public garbage cans too,
Yes.
throughout the city and at the parks, at all the parks. Okay. So about how many hours do you think they work to do that? Saturday,
I've asked them and they told me about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours.
clean all the public restrooms out to the
That's
Saturday
correct.
Park. And now Lighthouse doesn't have an outside.
Now, they had not been cleaning Patton Park. It was mainly the ones at the park and at the parks over here and down at the fish, along Green Street.
Pavilion. And then
I know
Pavilion
Patton Park wasn't included.
Yeah, if they clean that on Friday, it's good.
Okay, Patton Park stays good for the weekend. They clean that on Friday. Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Butler.
Not to beat a dead horse, but I've been here before and asked, why do we collect TDC money from the county, and that money is used to augment 2 people in parks and recs for the county to clean up restrooms on the weekend? But yet our city, and I don't know about Appalachia, are cleaning their own restrooms that are for the tourists that are coming here. I would first press that.
I have asked that at the TDC meetings, and it continues, that funding continues to go to the county.
It all goes to the county, but I'm about the services coming back.
You're not getting it in Appalachia or in Carrabelle. You're not getting those services.
Again, I mean, the 2 cities should have their constituents go to their county commissioners who make that decision. I know the TDC works with the county commissioner. The TDC says they don't do it. And the chairman happens to be from our district. And if that fails, then I would recommend you consider giving money to that entity, because they're here anyway, they're out of the state park, the county park cleaning up anyway. And augment them so they can do the 3 that we have here. That will get you around any contracting or benefits or whatever.
Well, meanwhile, though, we need to handle the problem, we could probably put them on some type of a 6-month renewal or something. I mean, that's not going to happen on time.
I know you're on the TDC board. I know.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but it's the squeaky wheel, and
I understand. We don't work for the county commission. The county commission
works for the
controls
people.
the money.
Works for the people.
Yeah, they control
And the
money.
TDC is a county entity which covers all the cities. There is an option where you could have had TDC within the cities versus the whole county. We chose to do it for the county. And whatever the county is doing, they should be doing it for the city. That's David's opinion.
So, what,
Are we talking about putting this out the bids?
yeah,
Kinda like
that's, we got to figure out how many hours do you think? 3 to 6 hours, 3 hours a day?
2 hours a day.
It won't take longer than 2 hours a day. They told me Jerry and said it usually takes them about 2 hours.
During the summertime it gets bad, and that goes needs to be done in the morning and the evening.
I agree with you, especially
I agree, because they're,
It gets
yeah.
bad.
People cleaning out their
In the morning,
vehicles,
it's
is what they're
done.
doing. They're cleaning out boats and vehicles at those garbage cans.
let's say 3 hours a day. I think that's something checking in that.
Check about the day. And then, will they provide their own supplies?
Now, the city waves, he did when I done it.
And how will they get those supplies? Where will they get them? Are they going to have access to the, you know, where they have
Waves will furnish some supplies.
We have a supply shed at the Tilly Miller Farm.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have access to the land yard.
No, they won't even have to go there on the weekend. They have that little building there under that. With all the supplies.
And then we'll advertise in the paper for it, is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, ma'am.
And 1 week or 2 weeks? Or
1 week to do that. That's all.
You mean advertise? I'd advertise 4 weeks.
Yeah.
If they want it, then
Charging you as out of county resident for the boat taxes.
we talked about that.
Take care of the upkeep of it.
We talked about that on the CRA side. I don't know if that, we can put that on the agenda if you want to talk about it next month. How about that? Would that be all right?
the landmark program is $10.
That's what I told you.
Yeah, $10 for one to put in every day. Or you can buy a yearly pass.
County people, no, I don't think they should have to pay for it. Residents, right?
All right. So we'll have that as an agenda item next month, and that will coincide with the union program, parking lot. Okay, so back to the hiring of contract worker for the restrooms. Would you want to review with Keisha then the advertisement, and would you make a list of the exact restrooms you want them to clean to make sure you know?
And the garbage cans that we
And the
want.
garbage cans, down there. Yeah, I get with Keith and Ford tomorrow.
Okay, since you requested it, you know, just go ahead and work with staff and make sure it's what you like, and we'll be glad to review it after we finish it.
And the pay.
Yeah,
Well, we're gonna bid it, so they would put there.
Okay.
And we know the right to reject any bid. I mean, we're not just going to pay not pay for now.
Now, they'll provide their own vehicle.
Yes.
Yes, they're self-employed.
Okay, Okay, so, do we want to have a motion then to, advertise, for contracting a janitor to clean restrooms and garbage cans on weekends?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Massey. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Walden. Is there any more discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question. What city parks? Tilly Miller, the one at the Sands Park, the one down on the, at the pavilion?
Plus the trash can.
Fire station.
And does that include, replacing paper and, hand wash and all those things?
And the city will provide that.
Yeah, we'll provide it, but that'll be their job to keep that up.
Yes.
Okay.
So that would be the Messer Pavilion, Marine Street Pavilion, restrooms, Tilly Miller, Sands Park. Is there any other? That would be the Marine Street. But you'll review with Courtney and Keisha.
Y'all wouldn't want to put my gallery in on that, would you?
The lighthouse, I don't know how their garbage
Okay. Very good. That answered my question.
13th Street, 12th Street Pavilion down under the bridge. Does that get much garbage use? Pickett's Landing.
Yes.
You know where Tommy McNally lives?
Yeah.
Where the condos
I
are.
didn't know we had.
Yeah.
It's just a garbage can. Barefoot can. Yeah.
Yeah, get them to go down there too, because a lot of people do go down there.
So 2 hours in the morning and 1 hour
I
in the
think they
evening.
changed it to 3.
Well, we just gonna do it too, morning after.
That's good.
Or until they get the job done. I wouldn't even bid it out by the hour. I would just bid it out by the job.
Okay, so we didn't vote on this yet. We didn't vote on it. Okay, so, any more discussion? All right, then, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right, then, here we go. Old business, discussion of possible action concerning negotiations with the school board. I went on June the 28th and met with the school board superintendent and the chairman of the school board. And, we had some discussions for about an hour and 10 minutes. I took the, new proposal of $25,000. We, back on June the 20th during our special meeting, we counter proposed $25,000. And, they were just not agreeable to it. And, I mean, talking and back and forth. And, they, talked about that they are taking the liability off of our hands by taking the gym. And that we had originally offered the $50,000, and they were making arrangements with that $50,000 to repair the field house, and any that was left over, they were going to use it to start repairing the gym site for their bus barn. They said that it's very valuable to the city to remove that covenant or restriction that's on the purchase agreement with the city and the school board. That says that the city must provide a facility and utilities to any after-school program that's approved by Franklin County. But that was done before, years before. So we have that, and we're trying to do the best we can. So we talked and tried to figure out what can we do. How can we work this out? Now, there had been an original proposal of some extra land and trade of the gym that Mr. Hartman reported that to us back on June 20th, special meeting. And Ms. Moses had made an offer of all of the softball field and all of the baseball field and the land behind the city. Right directly behind the bay, in trade for the gym site. And so I came back and wrote down notes, and I talked to Mr. Hartman and told him exactly how the discussions went. They're pretty firm. They're expecting a payment of $50,000. That was our original offer back in the fall. But basically, the school board would get the gym site. They would have the back field house, which they had, it's their property, and the old football field and the parking lot. And then the driveway would be on the city property, but they would have access to the driveway. And Ms. Moses offered to make the payment in 2 installments. We didn't talk about when these installments would happen, so Mr. Hartman suggested that the payment would be 10 days after execution of the agreement, and then the second $25,000 in 6 months after execution of the agreement. Then the city would get in this counter proposal the old baseball field, the old softball field, all the land directly behind city-owned property, right behind the Bay Building, the driveway, access to the parking lot. The parking lot and driveway would be 2 easement agreements. And then the city would also have express release from obligations to all after-school programs. We would not have that in our purchase agreement. The agreement would be amended from now until forever. This would dissolve and abolish the lease. Right now, the city has a 50-year lease on all of the property, 29 acres that surround the 6 acres, almost 6 acres that the city owns. And in that lease, the city is responsible for maintaining all of that property. And they've been out to see the property. Ms. Moses had been out, now I guess it's been about 2 weeks ago, and she's, we're not maintaining it to, standards that she and the board expects with mowing and keeping up all of the outside buildings like the restaurants and concession stands. So, this is just something that's come out of that meeting.
We would definitely be ahead by paying them $50,000.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I thought we had a negotiating committee to deal with all this.
Anybody do it?
We've been working on it. But if you want to disband the negotiating committee and take it on yourself, then we need to disband. But that was done in the city commission meeting not long ago. We made that we would do it. We have been doing it over the phone. We haven't had a chance to get down at a table and on a one-to-one basis. And I think that's our job. So, and that would certainly relieve you of a lot of the problems.
Well, you're more than welcome to go back and
Well,
meet with them.
I thought that was the plan, that we would do it.
Did you have anything, did the committee have anything to bring?
We have been in discussion, and Dan has reported, the conversations, but we haven't had a set around at the table meeting yet. And I think that's what we need.
I did not request to meet with both of those people. I was supposed to meet with Ms. Moses on a one-on-one. There was no attorney there, and she had Mr. Kirby come. I didn't know that he was going to be attending the meeting just between her and I. And I had actually talked to some of the school board members on my own.
Well, of course,
and I've talked to
then isn't it when you do it on your own, you're just a citizen then?
I'm not sure, because anywhere I go anymore, I'm not just a citizen.
Well, I understand, but, I wouldn't have as a commissioner the authority to go make any arrangements or even talk about it until we have the official process that we have of having our negotiating committee take a look at it and see what we can work out. And I think that's the way we ought to go. That's what we agreed to in our city commission, and that's on the books.
It is on the books. And you can't, you negotiated, or I don't know exactly how it went down, it wasn't recorded, but you were going to, I'm trying to remember, go back and say not to pay anything, or 25, not to pay anything.
We agreed in the meeting to pay $25,000, make that offer in exchange for some other considerations. And Dan related that to them, and that's where it was, and that's the last I've heard about it, and I haven't had any further discussion on it.
If you want, I can just summarize, because I know Commissioner Massey, you weren't here at the last meeting when all this went on. simply this, that the commission at a special meeting voted to have Commissioner Allen and myself negotiate with the really the attorney, the school board. We sent over a series of what I call the most deep potential deal points. They had a workshop. They came back to us and said that the deal points were acceptable, and what those were in a nutshell was very close to what the mayor just has been talking about. But it was $50,000, trading some property, getting out from under the nest responsibility, and that sort of thing. So, and with details on parking, access, all that. That came before the city commission at the last meeting, and the city commission at that time said, hey, we're not real comfortable with the $50,000. We want to offer them all those same terms, but $25,000. I put that in a formal offer form because that was voted on. No commissioner or mayor has the authority to bind the commission alone. So, but we did have a vote on this offer. So I sent that offer over to the attorney for the school board at $25,000, and I think that triggered the meetings that the mayor had.
Just one meeting.
The one meeting with the superintendent, who then brought in with us, and then that superintendent kind of whatever, it came in with added a school board member to it, unbeknownst to the mayor. They had their meeting, and the mayor just reported on the results of that meeting, which I'm taking as, now that's not binding, they're not binding their school board either, but saying that, hey, you promised us 50, that has been the vote of contention, that we did tell them we would do 50 8 months ago, and then we've kind of put it on the table, take it off the table, put it on the table, and we took it off the table. So that's been the vote of contention. So that's how we've arrived at this point. We need to be careful so we don't kind of continue this cycle to vote on things and make firm offers to them so that they have something they can vote on and accept. And if they accept it, we vote on and offer it to them, and they vote on it and accept it, we got ourselves a deal. So neither of us are keep backing up from the table and changing the terms.
And how long is this gonna go on?
Well, it's the ball.
I mean, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I mean,
The only way we have to short circuit it or to get it over with is to vote on things. For this commission to vote and say, hey, and which we did at the last meeting. We voted to send them an offer. We do not have a formal response to that offer. What we have is the informal response that we obviously rely on the mayor's interpretation of what she heard from them.
yeah, because her interpretation is the same one as yours.
Yeah, that they want that $50,000.
Well, if we offered the 50, I think we should stand behind our offer. Mr. Frank, I agree with, they came back after the offer of 50,000, and they wanted some property, which was the old deal. And I said, well, if we don't give them the old deal, then let's do the offer for 25,000, and obviously they rejected my suggestion. I agree with you, we got to get out from under this board, the girls up whatever it takes. I just thought we might save ourselves $25,000. It don't hurt to ask. No, I agree.
It doesn't hurt.
They say no, the superintendent come back with 100,000. Yeah, whoa. No, don't do that.
Well, the thing about it is, school's fixing to start up, and we're gonna be responsible for the Boys and Girls Club. Well, it's already goes during the summer.
Well, and remember, we just so everybody kind of get everybody back up to speed. Our responsibility is to provide space for them and utilities, and we're way past this at this point. But our fallback position has always been, and it's my interpretation is completely legitimate, is we have the Bay building. The school board's used that before for different activities. We would provide space in that building, and they can use it, and it's suitable. We fresh coat of paint, and clean it up, and it's ready to go. And of course, we're past that. I mean, if we can, we're very close to wrapping this up from their workshop to the meeting that the mayor had. We're right there. I mean, we should try and wrap this up. Obviously, if something takes a hard left or a hard right, we're proceeding with a relocation to City Hall, and we can, worst case scenario, live up to our responsibilities under that agreement by providing space in the Bay building. But that's, again, we are past that. We can always return to it, but we're past that.
Providing the space in the Bay building still keeps them under our home.
Yep, it does.
Our home.
Yep.
We will get out of that.
Well, if you look, look to the future, we're all dead. Now, Miss Moses is the one, but of course you all had negotiated a land trade for the gym. That's what was brought back, was negotiated with Mr. Martin and Commissioner Allen's land trade. And so Miss Moses she was a little more in detail about the amount of land. But she certainly can't speak to the board. She's not a voting member of the board. So, she discussed it, and she may make her recommendations to the board. But that doesn't mean that they will vote that way.
Can we wait on this? They go before their board, and they vote on what they're setting up $25,000 down road?
Oh, yeah. I'll leave that up to y'all. Now, the way
Well, the board might have a different opinion than Ms.
that's
Moses. They might accept it.
they might.
I believe we need to let the negotiating board deal with it and see if we can't come. I mean, we can negotiate. We are good people, and we're not. Excuse me. We are not going to put the kids out on the street. That's the county's job. It's their school system. We're being very generous, in my opinion, to offer the 25. But if there are other issues that we can consider, I'll be glad as a part of the board to consider that. And let's go with that. That's what we agreed to. Now, the fact that we offered them $50,000 is probably the kingpin that's created the problem. But the last motion we made supersedes the previous motion. You can make a motion and pass it and then come back and rescind it, or make another motion, and that's what we've done.
Understand, just to clarify, is we had offered $50,000 8 months ago type thing. It was rejected. The school board said no, we want more money.
Then it's
was what had happened at that time. So that was rejected, but it still set the standard. It kind of set the bar. And at the last meeting, we voted. The commission voted on an offer that was the terms that we went through at the last meeting, but with the change of $25,000 instead of $50,000. I sent that over to the school board attorney. That has not been acted on, approved or not, by the school board. I would say what's in front of the commission tonight would be based on, it's just up to you all, whether you want to get a decision on that offer or make modifications to that offer based on the meeting that the mayor had, which obviously is an indication of what the school board might do. But it was only one member and the superintendent.
So we would then negotiate and find out what changes they want to make and bring it back to the board, to the commission here, to decide if they would go with that.
Actually, I mean, that could be true, but the negotiations, we're not negotiating right now, meaning we have made an offer. It's up to the school board to respond to that offer, and if they don't accept it, then they will say, then the negotiating will begin again, meaning they'll say, no, we want X. And then obviously that's going to come both before you as the designated person for negotiation purposes, but it's really, we're negotiating about money. The one term on there, there are some other slightly modified terms, things like who's paying for the survey, a little bit, which is generous on the school board's part, a little bit more property than we had originally. We talked about just the same amount of the footprint of the gym out behind the building. It sounded like from the meeting they might be open to a little more property, basically back to the tree line. So that would justify potentially the additional money. But that would be, hopefully, we don't have to go back to the drawing board and renegotiate 8 or 10 different points. We're down to what's the amount of money and really land. Those are really the only two major changes.
And Ms. Moses would have to take that land amount, she would have to take that to the school board.
Yep.
That was her suggestion on trying to work out the issue of the gym. And they need the gym, they need that for their festival.
And I can pass that along to, I have not had a conversation with the board attorney on this. So we can just pass those little bits along so that when they consider our offer, because we do have an offer out to them that's been voted on, that they can put that in the mix when they're considering.
Who did you and Commissioner Allen meet with?
Sorry, what we met with is the school board attorney. So that's who's been there negotiating, going back and forth. So
Now, a scenario, we've made a good faith offer, and plus with 25 plus other considerations to be determined, and they don't accept it. And so that's okay. If they don't accept it, then where do you go from there?
yeah, where we go from there is,
Do we
I'm
continue
assuming,
to try to?
yeah, I'm assuming they're going to say, you know what, we've told you once, we told you twice, we can't do 25, we can do X, we can do a different amount of money. If they, and so we'll have ourselves essentially, I would say, they put the ball back in our court. We put the ball in their court with an actual voted on offer, and then they will vote on something. They will, I would ask their board attorney to say, hey, if you either accept our offer, or if you don't accept our offer, please make a counter offer.
Yeah.
If everything just melts down, meaning they just say, you know what, we're done talking about this, that wouldn't be good. I mean, it would be I mean, then it goes to what I talked about before as far as worst case scenario. Obviously, we are, at whatever point we mothball the building, just tear it down, vacate it, we make room in the Bay Building, make room in the Bay Building. And that satisfies our
That
contractual
was my original intent in speaking to Ms. Moses, and that was the first thing I said to her, that I did not, that's why I was there speaking to Ms. Moses. I did not know that she was going to have the board chair sitting, was that I do not want talks and negotiations to break down. And I, told her, advised her that the counter offer was $25,000, and that I want our discussions to be able to continue, and they wanted to know, what can we do? How can we just talk about how can we work this out, basically. And so, that was that. I did not meet with their attorney, I didn't meet with the whole school board. But if we want to go back and let the Commissioner Allen try to, do what we have voted on and have negotiations. And, we even talked briefly about having a workshop between both boards, but then we decided that probably was 10 elected officials in one room might not do it.
But whatever we, as the committee, the negotiating committee decides, it still comes back to approval by the total commission.
It has to be approved by the
That's the procedure, and that's the only way to streamline to get through anything. Because if you got 5 of us talking to them and trying to come up with this and do that, it'll be like a, well, I won't say what I was thinking, the Chinese fire drill, since that's politically incorrect.
I think we could have us our next month meeting, we could have your committee have us an answer yesterday.
Well, I don't want to make it sound complicated. They have an offer. We voted, and we sent them an offer. Right, we're waiting on that. So there is no need for the negotiating committee or just the designated commissioner or anything to do anything at this point. We're waiting on their answer. Once we have their answer, I'm also hoping it's going to be simple, that it's a different number, maybe some variation on the land, that's it. And then it'll come right back in front of this commission, we'll vote on it.
I think the school board is having a couple of special meetings coming up. Is that correct? Okay. So, and I'm understanding that they're going to, Ms. Moses is going to ask them to vote because in our last communications that you reported to us on the 20th, they wanted to try to have this finished by the 29th because they really want to try to get the bus barn somewhat functional so that they can start the school year. So maybe you can contact, this is just a suggestion that, or both of you contact Ms. Sanders and ask them to vote on it as soon as they can, put it on their agenda as soon as they can if they really want to try to get something done by the 29th.
I will send Ms. Sanders, because we sent her the offer that was voted on, and I'll just mention that it came up at this meeting, and we await, we await your response, and, ideally, it's in the form of a formal action on your part that then we can take formal action on. Hopefully, then that's done. We're done with this.
I have one other comment. I think the idea of special meetings to do this is not real good because it's too big a deal. And usually our special meetings have 3 of us here, and this needs to be before the whole board. I strongly believe that. And I've suggested that we do this at a regular agenda meeting rather than a special meeting because, the problem we had the other night, we had 3 of them, almost couldn't get a decision.
And our next regular meeting is August 3. So we could act very quickly after they do on the...
Yep.
Actually, when is their next? I don't know when their next meeting is.
They're going to have, Ms. Moses said they have several meetings between now and July 3rd and 29th when they have the regular board meeting because they're trying to hire some folks. So we have 2 or 3 meetings between now and then. But I guess you could just... Oh, sorry. So I guess then you would just let Ms. Sanders know that we wouldn't be taking action until August or whenever our next meeting is.
And if it is that your old...
So we wouldn't be able to make the July 29th deadline.
Okay.
Is that right? We won't be able to make the July 29th deadline. We won't discuss this again until August when? Is our next
3.
meeting? August 3rd. Yes, it is the 3rd.
I had 2 questions, and I'm not walking very well, so I'll just shout from here if you don't mind. Mel Kelly. The first question I have is, was there no date? I bought a lot of houses, and was there no date on the offer? Respond by, as usually happens in a purchase offer. And the other question I have is, what is this commission's plan for the use of this land that you are negotiating for?
I'll answer.
I would just say, first of all, for the land, we did not know until very recently, and the school board actually has not made that offer. That was just a suggestion by the superintendent. So we, as the board here, have not had an opportunity to discuss the plan for any land because they're just now being informed of it.
But since that's being tossed about as part of the negotiation, whoever does it, I would hope that this commission would at some point talk about what plan, because otherwise, what is the value of the land?
Well, right now, we have that land for...
Having bought things in the past, normally there is a time frame within a contract to offer to purchase. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. Now or never.
So are you saying that when, well...
This is not, that, I don't believe that, like, time frames. I mean, we're not purchasing anything, we're not selling anything. We're in a negotiation back and forth. We're not.
But you did make an offer to purchase.
We're not purchasing it.
Well, you made an offer of $25,000 to purchase, you said.
No, it's not that type of deal. We're not buying anything. And we could. I mean, Carrabelle's right, I mean, we can always put timeframes on things, but we've had a real lively back and forth for 2 years now. We haven't had any problem with timing. They've been
But
responsive.
you've been at it for 2 years.
Yes.
I'm sorry, it might put a little more pressure on them if there's some. Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Okay, so now, what do we need to have a motion or anything here, Mr. Parker?
We do not need any motion unless you want to change the offer that we already had a vote on, that they have not made any decision on yet. So we can change that offer, and we need to be clear on what they are considering at their next meeting.
Well, there's an old song, you gotta know when to hold them, and you gotta know when to fold them, you gotta know when to walk away, and you gotta know, don't count your money before the deal is done. There is great wisdom in that, and I think at this point here, I feel like that if we sit pat and just get a little time to see what we can do. That's our job.
Pleasure of the board.
So you sent them the one with the 25,000.
Yes, and we're waiting on an answer.
And we know they're not going to take it.
Well, no, we don't know that for sure. They haven't voted on it.
Oh, Mr. President said they were going to take it. They ain't going to take it.
Well,
I can already tell you.
Again, what I'm going to ask for from their attorney is they vote on it, yes or no, and then if it's a no, that they send us back something. I mean, that's what we did to them. We sent them a defined, actually voted on offer. If they can send us the same, then obviously we're in a position where we can accept it. And this will be done at that point. We don't need to keep going back and forth and pushing
all right,
things.
so we'll do that. Now, we have any other special meetings, or are we not going to discuss this? What if they wrote back and said, well, we'll negotiate some on the price. This is just a scenario. But we need your answer by the 20th of July. We're going to write back and say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't have a special meeting. Well, Commissioner Allen has requested that we don't.
Well, they give us the answer, then we can have that meeting. They say they'll accept it, and we can have it. And how long is it gonna last? 10 minutes?
Right.
We need to move on.
Yeah, I know it. I know we do.
People get tired of it.
Yes, and as am I, so we'll leave it as it is, and
Do you know when you might hear back from them?
I'll ask for a quick response.
after they can't do anything until they have their meeting, until they have
I'll
a
send it to her right now.
And the meeting is,
I don't know when their meeting is. I think they're having a special meeting.
We're having some special meeting between now and the regular meeting for teacher hiring,
right,
and it will be brought up at one of those special meetings.
okay.
Thank you.
I know we have a special meeting on the 17th for trim notifications, so possibly we'll need 17th.
Yes, ma'am?
I think the subject has to be advertised for a special meeting. I don't know what the time frame is, if there's enough time for the 17th.
Saturday.
All right, then, Commissioner Allen, if we have to call a special meeting, if we're given a deadline, are we going to be able to call a special meeting?
Can we call a special meeting later if a situation develops instead of having to do it tonight?
Yes, because we wouldn't know.
Well, let's do that. If we get a bite or a nibble or a counter offer that we need to look at, then, I could do it. but I would really urge that everybody that should be here on that.
I would too.
I believe we're required for 48 hours notice prior to the session.
For us, I don't know, school board may be different, 7 days. All right, then, can we move on off this item? Is that all right with everyone? All right. Item 2, discussion and possible